Wow, we're back. It's been a couple of crazy weeks, but we've made it this far. And in one of my previous videos, I brought up a statement that was made by Dr. Anthony Fauci about shaking hands in the future. And I said that maybe I'd make a video about it. It makes sense right now to not shake hands. We're in the midst of a pandemic and we want to avoid the spread as much as possible. But I don't think that it's a good thing to hold on to in the future. If you're wondering why I've been hard on public officials, let me assure you that it's not because I'm an agitator or I have a bone to pick with these people. I just happen to care a lot about the health and well-being of people in general. I see things that happen and things that don't happen, and it makes me wonder, what are the intentions of some of these people? So let's start with the easy thing, the things that don't happen. Where is the national guidance on how to stay healthy during a pandemic? Stress levels are elevated because of uncertainty and fear. Our habits have changed because our routines are not the same. And some people are actually dealing with the effects of the virus itself. You would think that there would be a unified message coming from Washington on how to deal with these new challenges and maybe even emerge from the pandemic as a healthier society. This thought never really occurred to me until I listened to Dr. David Katz. And this was a person who has a background in lifestyle medicine. And he sounded like he actually cared about me. He's bringing up things that would, positively, affect me and benefit me for the future. There's no national guidance that I've seen or, a program to promote our health during a pandemic. What's more is the things that are happening. Many of us are feeling victimized for leading healthy lives and wanting to make decisions that are deemed as unsafe by the media and some public health officials. I'm sure you heard it, right? You're walking around as an asymptomatic carrier of COVID-19 and you infect an elderly or an immunocompromised person, you could kill them. Did you catch it? It's no longer the virus or the disease that's killing them, but it's you. Victimizers are normally people who have power or influence, like the media or potentially government, and they target those who they deem vulnerable, which in this case would be the public that is afraid of COVID-19. And it doesn't stop there. They actually use fear to manipulate and control you. What's something that people admit to being more afraid of than dying? Change. People are terrified of change. And what's a phrase that you hear on every 6 o'clock news hour or the title of every article? The new normal. Your whole life is going to change following COVID-19. Nothing will ever be the same. And some people willfully submit to that idea. All of their courage and their hope has been expended. So the media, government, and public health officials swoop in to rewrite what our lives will be like. Well, here's one dude that's not buying it. And I will fight them, hopefully for the sake of all of us, to the end. That's not the reality that I live in and not what I'm willing to accept. I think taking risks are an important part of life. I learned a long time ago that you can't lose what you don't put in the middle, but you can't gain much either. So why am I being hard on the media, government and some public health officials right now? It seems to me that they're not doing the things that would be helpful for us to emerge from the pandemic as a healthier society, like focusing on our, physical and mental health and giving us guidance on how to deal with those things, at least in a programmatic or unified or clear message, and they're spreading fear and panic when they get the chance, often about all the negative things of COVID-19. So back to the matter at hand, quite literally, should we be shaking hands? I have a couple stories and simple concepts or things that I wanted to share about what shaking hands has meant to us as a people in our culture in the past, and a couple examples of in my life of where it's made a difference, and then why it might not be a good idea from a health perspective to not to abandon that in the future. And I guess I'll start with I had met someone. She had her master's in nursing, and she was involved with treating the Ebola pandemic a few years ago. And she actually worked under the head epidemiologist in the state of Washington. So I don't know what her life is like now, but it's probably crazy. It's probably been crazy the last couple of months. I remember her and I walking to a cafe on a Saturday morning to go get some coffee. And as we were walking and talking and getting to know each other better, she was describing about working with Ebola. And I said, if I would give you a big hug right now, would that bother you? Hug and lift you up. And I didn't do it because she said, yeah, don't do that. She didn't want anybody to touch her. She is a nurse dealing with pandemics during infectious diseases. She doesn't want people to touch her. Dr. Anthony Fauci has dealt with infectious diseases his whole life. He thinks that it wouldn't be a bad thing if we never shook hands again in the future. I get it. That's the way that people that work with infectious diseases see the world. But I don't think that it is necessarily the best way to proceed. Handshakes in the United States have meant a lot of things to a lot of different people over the years. It signifies closing a deal. So it's you shake hands and it's an agreement that you both have made. There's a country singer, Eric Church, and he has this one lyric in his one song that says, if I shake your hand, look you in the eye, you can bet your ass it will be the truth. So, from that aspect, it means giving your word. So there's that important part of it. Remember when I was in high school and I went out and visited my brother in San Diego, shaking hands, every place in the United States has a different way to shake hands. Here on the East Coast, we're like, that's the handshake. Well, when I was out on the West Coast going to shake people's hands, that wasn't what they did. And I was just 16, at parties or whatever. And they made fun of me. They're like, oh, you guys really over there, like, got a lot of, hand holding going on. The handshake in California it's a slap and then a bump. And it's funny because if you slap, but then you don't bump, they're like, where's the bump? So, it's just something different, and it means different things. That's how you greet your friends. So with that unique handshake that's different in, different parts of the country. And I think that, you could also make the analogy of like, are you going to tell people from Italy and Spain to not greet each other with a warming hug, embrace, and a kiss in the way that they might do that in their culture? It's unfortunate that this pandemic has come upon the world, and it's unfortunate that a way of spreading it is droplets, so that shaking hands or kissing someone is a way that it could potentially spread. But I don't see that as a reason for in the future abandoning those things. My mom has worked in elder care her whole life, and I remember vividly when I was a small child going to the hospital for a Halloween. And, I guess technically this could have been around flu season, but she worked on the transitional care unit, and she's worked as a nurse for over 30 years. She would bring us into the rooms to get candy from the elderly folks, and she's said to me, and I remember, I can vividly picture it in my mind. She said, go up to the folks and let them touch you. Because touch, the sensation of touch, it's an important thing for our psychology. And I'm not a health expert. I've been reminded about that by plenty of people talking about COVID-19 on Facebook. But if you want to look into it, the psychology of touch, and you can look that up, and there will be plenty of health experts that will tell you that it's a very important part of our society. So when people, that have this platform that influences many, make statements like this, it bothers me because, like I said, I don't believe a lot of effort has been made to help us to find the healthy way to go through a pandemic, deal with it both physically and mentally. And it seems like there is, it's exaggerated on the part of fear. And so we're stuck in this place, and then we start to accept these things that might not be, good things for us to move forward. So I hope that as we start to reopen the country and other countries start to reopen, I really wholeheartedly hope that the virus will be dampened. I hope that our efforts to try and curb the spread have worked. I hope that more treatments come out and better ways to not to, be able to isolate cases, and so that it doesn't spread. But I also understand that we are people, and we can't get into this habit of looking the other way when we pass someone, because we're afraid that a droplet out of our mouth when we're not speaking or coughing or sneezing might somehow fly 3 to 6 feet into someone else's face and get them sick. And I don't want to be the type of society where I can't embrace someone and enjoy the pleasure of their company. And I think that if we continue to not question, why some of these things are being proposed, I think that we can start to go down that road. So here's one dude, like I said, that will continue to think about the things, will continue to read and be informed, and will continue to hopefully have a reasonable stance. And then I'm going to share that with others, because I think at the end of the day, the people's health and well-being is what I care about, and so I'm doing this for that end. So carry on, everybody, and talk to you later.